tell them suckers to move. I ain't in the mood. Got me with the crew, let me do what I do. I tell them suckers to poof. Got me in the booth, lobby in the truth, let me do what I do. Yeah, remember when the U come through, enter the music jungle. Or back with the block, I used to rock, I used to fumble. I still rock down, drop the ball when I want to.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manny, and I am all alone this week. It's just me. No Berto this week. We'll get to that soon. But you're tuned into the OnlyFights podcast. This is episode 37. And the reason why I'm all by myself and Berto's not here is because there was virtually no MMA. I didn't see any. We looked for it, and we couldn't find any. So it was a pretty lackluster weekend in general, to say the least. I actually watched a little bit of that professional wrestling stuff, which I was enjoying up until I saw Logan Paul's face. And you know, if you watch WrestleMania, then you've seen Logan Paul bite Eddie Guerrero's moves. And once I saw that, I had to turn it off. I was like, nah, man, y'all were far too disrespectful, letting him do the Three Amigos and then the worst version of a frog splash I've ever seen in my life. I had to turn that stuff off. But what I didn't turn off was some boxing. There was actually a really good card, DAZN and Matchroom. I love those companies, man. They always provide great entertainment in the sport of boxing, and that proved on Friday night. Friday afternoon for the American here. This was Friday, April 1st. They were in Barcelona, Spain. You had the return of Sandor Martin. If you guys remember, he came off a huge upset, beating Mike Garcia, a 4-division champion, former world champion. And he makes his return after the biggest win of his career. The card starts with light heavyweight action. Ricardo Bolotniks taking on Hervig Sepp, who was undefeated coming into this fight. Both guys, they came to fight, showed a lot of heart. It was actually a really good opening bout. A lot of toughness, and it was an 8-round fight. After 8 rounds, Bolotniks will come out the victor, giving Sepp his first career loss. And next up, we have another undefeated fighter in the women's bantamweight division, Stevie Levy. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm going to say it. Taking on Horlina Guanini. Unfortunately, Guanini was, just too much for Levy, and she would give her first loss in a really rugged battle. Pretty one-sided though. But it was a good scrap, fun to watch. Moving on, we have a battle of another 2 undefeated fighters. So we have 2 fights in a row where undefeated fighters will take their first L, and then barring a draw, we were going to have another fight because they were both undefeated. Jader Obregon takes on Kyle Lamotti, and this was a pretty good fight too. Both guys, showing a lot of grit, and thought the fight was more in Obregon's favor. But Lamotti, he battled back. He came to fight, and he wasn't going to lay down. He had 2-point deductions for fouls, low blows, and that certainly didn't help him in the scorecard. So after 8 rounds, he suffers his first L. That's Kyle Lamotti suffering his first loss at the hands of John Obregon. And pretty compelling matchup. The co-main, you had a fight that really stole the show, for me anyways. Joel Cordova taking on Spain's own Samuel Carmona, another undefeated fighter. Carmona, he starts off looking very sharp, very elusive, tactical, and just overall the more skilled fighter. Cordova was a Mexican fighter. He fought with the Mexican style, and he was getting outboxed a lot in the early rounds due to the slickness of Carmona. But he would start to find some success somewhere around like the 4th round. He was cutting the ring off, applying constant pressure, and forcing Carmona to do far more work than he had anticipated. And it was showing in the mid to later rounds. As he was getting tired, he was doing way too much holding. He was getting away with it. In the 8th round, Carmona goes down, with a right hand and is hurt. He's using every trick in the book. He's doing like a very obsessive holding. I was really surprised, kind of not surprised, because he was the Spanish fighter in Spain with a Spanish referee. So, that's boxing, right? But so in the he would survive the round, come out in the ninth. Cordova was picking up where he left off, being the aggressor. Yet he catches a counter right hand. It was an overhand right. It wasn't that hard. I think Cordova was just off balance. It was enough to score the knockdown, though, for Carmona. So Cordova scores the knockdown in the 8th, and then he gets dropped in the 9th. So after 9 rounds, both guys hit the deck. And Cordova is still seemingly in control of this bout. You just knew that was going to hurt him on the scorecards. And then in the 10th round, in the 10th and final round, again, Cordova is still the aggressor. He's still walking Carmona down, winning the round. And, Carmona was just doing so much, like the holding. It was insane. He was... he was shooting for takedowns. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the clinches looked like he was shooting for a takedown. It's funny. I said there was no MMA this weekend, and that was kind of a lie because my man was going for the takedown a couple times. Like, when you clinch, man, you're basically trying to hug somebody. Like that a lot of times when people make fun of like Floyd and stuff, right? They call him a runner. They say he'd be hugging, and that's kind of what it looks like. But man, this guy, like he wasn't going for clinches. He was shooting for the takedown. And the referee wasn't deducting no points. I do believe that they went down a few times. I didn't like the officiating from this fight. I thought it was clearly biased. The judging. So the judges, after 10 rounds of a very close competitive fight that could have went either way, the judges did see it for the hometown fighter and Samuel Carmona. They had it 97-93, 96-93, and 96-94. So the judges, I'm not too, 97-93 is a little wide, but 96-93 and 96-94, those are pretty close scores. I wouldn't argue with anybody if you called this fight a robbery, or if you saw it the other way, rather. But I'm not 100% sure if it's a robbery. I think it was more so... if there was any corruption, if there was anything like that, it was more so on the officiating, more so than the judging. But Cordova did not like that. He immediately walked out of the ring. He didn't congratulate Samuel at all. And I kind of don't blame him, But again, I don't fault the judges. I don't call this a robbery. I think it was more the referee allowing things he shouldn't have allowed. So... nonetheless, Samuel Carmona remains undefeated, and he moves on. That was a bout in the super middleweight division, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So it's only a matter of time before that guy starts calling out Canelo, right? Moving on to the main event, we have Sandor Martin taking on Jose Felix. And this little bit of a lackluster fight simply because, Martin, he dominated. It was a slow start. Action picks up really around the 3rd round. And by then, Martine found a home for the straight left, and he was going to the body. He was doing a little bit of everything. Felix wasn't backing down. He would land some good combinations here and there. But virtually, it was a shutout, man, for Sandor Martin. I think the judges had it 100 to 90. 2 judges had it 100 to 90, which is a complete shutout. And then the other judge gave Felix 1 round, so 99 to 91. Probably that first round was very lackluster. Not the most entertaining main event, but that co-main definitely made up for it, with the exception of the slight corruption, if that's how you want to look at it. But that's boxing for you, right? That was on Friday. So Saturday, April 2nd, was the Savannah Marshall versus Femke Hermans fight. Now, here's the thing. It was aired on Sky Sports, which, to my recollection, is not available in the United States without a VPN. and I was trying to find a way to watch the fight. It took me a while, and I couldn't. I eventually, I got a hookup in the UK and was able to watch the fight. I didn't even get to start watching it until the co-main. So I'm just going to read off the results here on BoxRec. I'm going to start with the April Hunter outpointing Esther Konechna. I'm sorry, I can't. It's very hard to pronounce. Again, I didn't watch the fight, so I'm just going to move on. In the super middleweight division, you had Zach Chelly stopping Jack Koganen in 6 rounds of an 8-round contest. Moving on to the middleweight division, Bradley Rea outpointing. Okay, bear with me as I try to read this name. Usually I have to watch the broadcast and listen to how they pronounce it. So, Lucas Ndafaluma. I'm so sorry if I butchered that name. But Lucas went down in the 4th round, and looks like he virtually gets shut out by Bradley Rea. Moving on to the co-main, which I did get to watch, which I will speak on. You had Chris Jenkins, who's known as sort of a journeyman. He's coming off of a big win, though, against Julius Ndongo. He takes on the undefeated Albanian fighter in Florian Marcoux. Jenkins certainly didn't come to lay down, not right away at least. He seemed to have an answer for everything Marcoux was doing. I thought he was doing a great job outboxing him, not letting the bully be the aggressor. And in round 3, there was an accidental headbutt that would cause a really bad cut in the left eye of Marcoux, which that was a nice little test for this up and coming fighter. And it definitely prompted Jenkins to, kick it up a notch, which only made Marcoux a more dangerous fighter himself as he starts to kick it up a notch. In the very next round, the 4th, he lands a big right hand, which rocks Chris Jenkins and sends him, he's backing up, and he starts eating more punches here and there. He's trying to block some, he's trying to throw some back, but he's clearly hurt. And it didn't take much for the referee to waive the fight in the 4th round. So it's a 4th round stoppage for Florian Marcoux. I was a little deterred. I thought the fight was stopped a little premature. Chris Jenkins didn't even seem to be, he was a little, protesting the stoppage, but not much. So if they're not going to complain, I'm not going to complain. But I definitely thought that maybe could have let the fight go on a little longer. See if Chris Jenkins have anything left in the tank. But a good win for Florian Marcoux. Like I said, 4th round TKO. He improves to, I think, 11-0. And that's that. Moving on to the main event. Now, for those that don't know, Savannah Marshall is, I believe, the WBO middleweight champion in the women's division. And she gave Clarissa Shields, she beat her in the amateurs. And that's been like an ongoing rivalry. Savannah Marshall was in attendance for Clarissa Shields' last fight. Clarissa Shields in attendance for this fight. This fight was in Savannah Marshall's backyard in Newcastle. Is that what it's called? Forgive me, I'm sorry. It was in UK though, over there. And yeah, so she takes on Femke Hermans. She comes out. She looked like Tyson Fury, like her style. She's fighting with her hands low. She got this jerky movement type thing going on. It very much reminded me of a Tyson Fury. And she is a pretty tall woman. So again, the story of this fight was Savannah Marshall taking on a former opponent of Clarissa Shields, an opponent who Clarissa Shields went the distance with. Savannah Marshall would get the stoppage in the 3rd round. If you follow us on Instagram, you should have seen the story that we posted. We posted a nice little video of it. She has Hemkins up against the ropes in the corner basically, and they're both trading shots. She ducks under one of a right hand from Hermans and just lands the counter left that just knocks her lights out, man. It was pretty savage, pretty cold. And I was happy. I'm a Clarissa Shields fan, so I want to see the best for her. And so I was rooting for Savannah Marshall to get a good win. Of course, Clarissa Shields was being interviewed by Sky Sports, and she would eventually get in the ring and, trade words with Savannah Marshall. And I think the stage is going to be set. They interviewed the guy who runs the I think it was Boxer, the promotional company. I forget his name, Ben something. It's not even Ben. I don't know. But they were interviewing him. They said, "Hey, how possible do you think it is to get these two fighters, together in the next bout?" And he said, "Easy. They're both signed to him, so they're both under the same promotional company, and it's looking like we're gonna see. Hopefully, it's not gonna take place with Sky Sports though, because that doesn't. Then we can't watch it here in America." I mean, I'm sure they're going to sort that out. I don't see why they would have a big fight with the UK and America and wouldn't let the Americans watch it. But, yeah, that should be a really fun matchup in the women's middleweight division. That would also be, I believe, for Undisputed, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. One of y'all can fact check me if you want. But nonetheless, if we stop caring about belts and start caring about matchups, that'd be better, right? We'd probably get some better matchups. Yeah. Speaking of better matchups, it's been rumored pretty heavily that Javonte Tank Davis is no longer going to be fighting with Mayweather Promotions. Javonte Davis is a staple in the lightweight division, really in the surrounding divisions, as he campaigns in lightweight, super lightweight, and junior lightweight. But this is a guy who we've always wanted to see. There's no reason why he's been fighting for this long, a big pay-per-view star, and he hasn't fought the likes of Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, none of those guys. This whole era of the new four kings, and Javonte Davis just kind of doing his own thing. It was pretty easy to understand how that was his promotional company. I'm hoping that I think he can be a free agent. This is what a lot of fighters I think we're starting to push for. Just kind of being your own boss, being your own, like how Canelo's doing it, and then just signing, 1, 2, 3 fight deals with promotions, specifically to fight A, B, and C. You know what I'm saying? Canelo, that's what he's doing. He took a 3-fight deal with his own and Matchroom so that he could fight Bivol, Triple G again, and I believe I don't know if he has a third name yet. They were talking about John Ryder. They were talking about Bubu Andrade. Bubu Andrade's another guy who, maybe he just needs to take his legacy, take his career into his own hands. Terence Crawford is doing it. He announced his departure from Top Rank after the Porter fight. And it's actually been rumored, I think we just posted it on the story, it's been rumored that he's going to sign a 2-fight deal with PBC, and that he's likely to take on either Keith Thurman or Danny Garcia first, and then Errol Spence, or the winner of Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas. I'm not going to disrespect Ugas like that, man. He is a live dog, and he could very, very well upset the possibilities of us getting the Spence and Bud fight that we've been clamoring for so long. But hopefully that everything works out the way it does. And if Ugas does win, then, he deserves an opportunity to fight Bud Crawford. That would be great too. If Ugas can beat Errol Spence, then I would absolutely love to see him fight Bud. So yeah, that seems to be the direction that a lot of these fighters, especially younger fighters too. You got Devin Haney. So Devin Haney is signing actually to Top Rank. He was signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, but he signed, I think, a 3-fight deal with Top Rank. And so the way this is gonna go is if he beats Kambosos, he's gonna fight Kambosos for the real Undisputed, because the only reason why the Undisputed Championship in the lightweight was ever disputed was because Devin Haney held a version of the WBC title. but a smaller version, a version that I don't see why people gave it merit. Anyways, that's neither here nor there because they're going to fight each other. And barring a draw, the winner will be undisputed, and that can't be disputed. So if Devin Haney wins, he has to give Kambosos a rematch. And and then the winner of that fight is going to take on Vasily Lomachenko. So that's a pretty good plan right there for Lomachenko and whoever wins between Kambosos and Devin Haney. Some good matchups coming up, man. So let's just jump into what's going on in the future of boxing. Next week, we have the long-anticipated return of Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, taking on Ryota Murata. The more and more I look into this fight, the more and more I think, guys, I don't think Triple G is going to win this fight. I think he's 40 and he's going to be 41 like a day after the fight. I think the fight is like a day before his birthday or something. He's 39, he's going on 40. So after the fight, he'll be 40. So he's basically 40 years old. Ryota Murata is not a bad fighter. He's a fighter who likes to go to the body. Triple G has shown signs of weakness recently when people go to his body. Canelo did it. Sergey Derevyanchenko did it. And if Ryota Murata can, land to the body of Triple G, I think he can put a hurt into him. Another thing is they're fighting in Japan, which is the backyard of Murata. And, we've seen some shady judging lately. So I don't know. I mean, even if Triple G, and we've seen Triple G in the wrong end of some, crazy decisions against Canelo, right? Especially that first fight. So, I think if Triple G is the favorite, which I'm sure he is because of his legacy and who he's been, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Murata pulls it off or even, just gets the decision based off of the hometown advantage. If Murata's an underdog, I would absolutely put a couple dollars on him. That fight is this coming week. Also this coming week is the return of Michaela Mayer, putting her IBF and WBO junior lightweight women's titles against Jennifer Hahn. Jason Maloney's on the undercard too, as well as Giovanni Santillan versus Giovannis Barraza. That should be a good one. Triple G and Murata. And the return of King Ryan Garcia taking on Emmanuel Tago. Forgot about that, with Marlon Esparza taking on Naoka Fuyako. I'm sorry if I can't get that right. It's a title fight. Esparza holds the WBC women's flyweight title, and her opponent, who I don't want to butcher her name again, but she holds the WBA title in that division. So that'll be a unification fight. And on the undercard, well, that is the co-main, but another good undercard bout is Gabe Rosado taking on Shane Mosley Jr. You guys know, man, Gabe Rosado, win or lose, mostly losing, but he always comes to fight, and I love watching that dude fight. On the same night, wow, a lot of fights, April 9th, Erickson Lubin takes on Sebastian Fundora. With the return of Tony Harrison on the undercard, taking on Sergio Garcia. Wow, a lot of good fights on April 9th. And don't forget, I'm just calling out the boxing stuff, but April 9th, I believe, is UFC 273. Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie, with Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan in the undercard. And I just cannot wait for them to get that fight over with. Gilbert Burns, taking on Kazmet Chimaev. That's a great card. That's a really good card. I, of course, will be tuning into most of the boxing. I don't know when that Triple G fight is going to be. You definitely want to keep your eyes open a few days before, because the timing, the time zones, in Japan, man, those fights, Like Inoue, when he fights in Japan, man, I'll be watching his fights like at 6 a.m. Real talk. So if that's what it's gonna be like for the Triple G fight, y'all might have either a really late Friday night watching the fight or a really early Saturday morning, depending on how you look at it and depending on what the time zone is like in your area. But yeah, living in the Eastern time zone, expect to watch the Triple G fight very early Saturday morning. But it is going to be on DAZN, which is a streaming app, so you can always just run it back. What else did I have here? The Ryan Garcia fight is also on DAZN. That'll be later on that night, so that'll be on during the UFC main pay-per-view. Also, the Showtime card, that isn't something I think you can rewatch. So if you wanna watch things live, that would be the one to prioritize, right? Erickson Lubin versus Sebastian Fundora. That should be a good fight though, man. Erickson Lubin, I think he only has one loss to Jamel Charlo. Yep. I always get those confused. And that was, just Jamel Charlo catching Erickson Lubin right away. Very similar to like when Danny Jacobs knocked out Peter Quillen. The fight started and ended, right away. Tony Harrison is coming off of... Did he lose that last fight? I think he should have lost that last fight. They gave him a draw. If I'm not mistaken, but he definitely looked terrible in his last fight. And the fight before that was the rematch with Jamel Charlo, who he had beaten and then lost to in the rematch. So Tony Harrison very much needs a win to further his career. But April 9th, man, that's going to be one heck of a day for fights. Let's move on. I'm just going to cover the boxing side of things for future events. A week after this week, this coming Saturday, is going to be the big pay-per-view showdown on Showtime in Arlington, Texas. I believe that's where the Cowboys Stadium is at. I could be wrong. Errol Spence Jr. taking on your Dennis Ugas. I just talked about that fight earlier. That should be a good one. Don't sleep on Ugas, man. He's a great fighter. He arguably beat Sean Porter. It was a close fight. He was robbed of a knockdown that I think would have mathematically secured him a victory against Sean Porter. You could say he did better against Sean. If that's how you're thinking, if you think that he should have won the fight, you could say that he might have won the fight against Sean Porter better than Spence did. Now, the triangle theory doesn't always work in boxing. In fact, it almost never works in boxing. But, that's another live underdog. I don't know if y'all want to put some money on it. Somebody who I don't think is a live underdog is going to be fighting a week after that in another pay-per-view. You have Tyson Fury taking on Dillian White. I don't know, man. I don't see Dillian White standing a chance unless Tyson Fury just has like a super off night, kind of like how he did against Otto Wallin. Dillian White hasn't even really been promoting the fight from what I can gather. He hasn't been showing up to the press conferences. I don't know what's up with dude, but he's been calling for his mandatory shot, for the 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years he's been supposed to be the mandatory challenger. He finally gets his opportunity, and he's just shooting himself in the foot. I really don't like the actions. People say it's mind games, but I don't see what kind of games, he's looking to play here. I think he's just playing himself. So it's making me less interested in the fight, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm still going to watch it because it's Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. He's always entertaining to watch, and I'm certainly going to watch that. Not to mention it's heavyweight boxing, and as much as I don't think Dillian White's going to have much success, it's heavyweight boxing. Anything could happen. The week after that, April 30th, you have two great fights in Shakur Stevenson taking on Oscar Valdez for, is that undisputed? It's a unification bout. in the junior lightweight division. That's 130 pounds. Just one division south of the lightweight division, which is very stacked. So that's some good stuff right there. Oscar Valdez coming off of a win against Rob Consao. Stevenson coming off his great win against Jamal Herring. Great fight. And on that same night, that's going to be on ESPN Plus. On that same night on the Zone, you have Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano for undisputed in the women's lightweight division. This is the fight, man. This is it. This is the fight that I've been wanting to see. Earlier, I spoke on Savannah Marshall versus Clarissa Shields, how that's going to be the fight too. This is a lightweight, that's middleweight, that those girls are too far apart to be fighting each other. That is like the Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall and Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. You're not going to see the winner of those fights fight each other, is what I'm trying to say. They're too far apart in weight classes, rather. Moving on, Cinco de Mayo weekend, which would be May 7th. You have the return of Canelo. He will be taking on Dimitri Bivol. I'm sure you guys heard about that. That should be a good fight in the lightweight division. Canelo, he be bouncing back and forth from all these different weight classes. So he's moving up from his last 2 or 3 fights. He was fighting at 168, and he's going to take on Dimitri Bivol for Bivol's WBA light heavyweight title. And according to his trainer, Eddie Reynosos, they are open to fighting the winner of Beterbiev and Joe Smith Jr. They are both also titleists in that division. They're going to unify. So whoever wins between that fight and whoever wins between this fight with Alvarez and Bivol, if they fight each other, that'll be for undisputed. So Canelo has the opportunity to be undisputed in 2 different weight classes. That's crazy. That's why everybody wants to fight him. That's why there's such a long line of people trying to fight this man, because what he's doing is just amazing. And this is coming from somebody who used to not have the nicest things to say about Canelo. I was very much considered a Canelo hater when mostly it was because of Golden Boy. I learned that it was Golden Boy who I wasn't feeling. But ever since Canelo became a free agent, which is what I spoke on earlier with boxers, becoming their own bosses. He's been taking on really like some of the best challenges that are available for him. And I don't see him ducking anybody. I do think that at some point he's going to fight Benavidez. That fight might take place at light heavyweight. Benavidez struggles to make 168. Let's see if he can make 168 in his next fight against David Lemieux, which should be coming up soon. I don't have the date on me here. I'm just reading off the key dates from ESPN. But the week after that Canelo fight, you have a fight that I'm really looking forward to. That's the rematch between Jamel Charlo and Brian Castano. If you guys remember, they fought sometime last year. It was a very controversial decision, but it was a draw. And I thought it was a good call. I thought the draw was a great call because I thought either fighter could have won that fight. People thought Charlo should have lost, and that Castano got robbed, and that was kind of the story from the fans. But nonetheless, they're gonna run it back, and this is not a pay-per-view fight, just a regular fight on Showtime, and it's for undisputed. So this is something that boxing fans really should pay attention to. A fight that I don't think boxing fans are gonna pay attention to is next up on this list is Javonte Davis versus Rolly Romero. I'm just hoping that Davis can make the easy light work and get this shit over with. I don't know how Rolly Romero made it this far. I watch him train, and his videos look like trolling videos. I swear, I really don't know how Rolly got this far. But nonetheless, he's here, and he has a chance to shock the world, which I don't think he's going to do. I think this is just a good fight for Tank to go viral with another beautiful knockout and become a free agent, start calling out the names of the fighters. People have been criticizing him because you got Devin Haney going for, fighting for undisputed at 22, 23, however old he is. And Javonte Davis is pushing 30. I mean, he's like 27, So, like I said before, there's no reason why he shouldn't have already fought at least one of those big names. But But speaking of Devin Haney and his undisputed championship fight, yes, that's going to take place on June 4th, ESPN in Australia against the champion, George Kambosos. So I'm going to stop right there. Lots of great action in boxing coming to you. So I'm excited about that. I hope you guys are excited about that. We're certainly going to cover as much as we can. Berto will be back for the next episode. And yeah, guys, bold prediction, man. I don't see Triple G getting past Ryota Murata. I think Ryan Garcia makes quick work of Emmanuel Tago. I think Michaela Mayer will defeat Jennifer Hahn. And I think the most compelling fight probably will be the Erickson Lubin versus Sebastian Fundora fight. Sebastian Fundora is like 10 feet tall, but he doesn't fight like it. He doesn't really use his height and reach advantage, which kind of bothers me. You have that gift, man. Why won't you use it? No, seriously, he's like 6'6", and it's very tall in the 154-pound division. Got to see how Erickson Lubin's gonna handle that. That is the matchup that I'm most intrigued about. That is the matchup where I can't give you a prediction. If Fundora can finally learn how to utilize his height and reach advantage, he should be able to cruise through a fairly easy decision. But he's not going to fight like that. He's going to fight on the inside, and that's going to give Erickson Lubin all the chances in the world to go to the body and do what he does. And then, of course, Tony Harrison being on that undercard, I got to see what he looks like. So, believe it or not, I think the Showtime card is the most intriguing one. Aside from the Triple G fight, which will be on early in the morning. So, go watch all those fights. I hope this information does you guys well. If you want to, put some money up, in the betting sites. Ain't no betting sites sponsoring us, so I'm not going to tell you where to go. You can go wherever you want. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. It was just me this week. So, once again, my name is Manny. This is the OnlyFights podcast, and I'm out.